Hey guys, welcome to Layout Update number 28 today. And as always, welcome back to another episode here on Real Chief 74. Now, we do have a bunch of surprises to share with you all for today's episode. And again, I don't really want to spoil too much, but the one thing, or a couple of things that I can tell you, is that we'll be talking a little bit about what's going on with the upper section over on the bridge here, where the trolley is located. We'll also share a couple of newer structures that were added to the layout just recently, and a couple of minor changes that were made here and there to both of the layouts, and so much more. So this will be an episode that I think you guys will not be disappointed with, as always. So why don't we go ahead and roll the video clip for today's video. So as always, sit back and relax, and I hope you guys will enjoy. Now, when it comes to the upper section here, you guys are in luck. And I know that some of you have been wondering about what's been going on with the trolley line ever since I last gave an update on this area of the layout. Well, I have some really good news for you guys, because I'm going to be adding a cityscape at the end of the background here. And on the other end of the bridge, there's going to be a little curved section that comes out and disappears into this little fake building, which I'm currently working on, by cutting up an old shoebox and adding some brick panels to the outside to make it look like a building. And then once all that is said and done, I'm going to be adding a fake cityscape on the end of the background here to kind of give the layout a little bit of a forced perspective look, to give the illusion that the trolley is disappearing into the city for a brief moment to drop off some passengers. Very similar to some of the Clark Dunham layouts that have been made for Great Toy Train Layouts of America, as well as Railroads on Beret and so much more, and all of the other layouts that he's worked on over the past couple of decades. Now, if you guys follow me on my backup channel, Rail Chief's Back Shop, you guys might have took note that I reinstalled this operating lock-on system to the curve track section here. And that's because, I didn't really have a whole lot going on here in the oil refinery where the barrels are kind of stacked up on top of each other. So I thought to myself, why not add some more action? And that's what I wanted to do. So whenever I take out the barrel car or the 3359 dump car, I'm going to be dumping my load in front of this area here, because what better way to dump the barrels than to drop them off from where they came from. Now, if we move on over here in the center of the two layouts, we do have this little control panel switch, which I handcrafted myself. And I also do have an additional switch on the side here, which I'm going to leave for the time being. Now, two of these switches I did want it to paint, so that way I would know right off the bat which switch is for which accessory. And for those of you who remember, I did reinstall the uncoupling track section to the secondary layout, and I didn't really want to go through all the trouble by re-adding the O22C controller to the uncoupling track itself. So I wanted to make things a little bit simpler this time around, rather than just mounting another switch on the lip of the layout. So for the time being, this will have to do, but the black switch here I wanted to leave alone, because this one is going to act as my unloading switch. So that way I can unload a boxcar or a dump car or whatever operating freight car that I might run on the layout here from time to time. I also do have a green switch here for the 257 that I'll get back to a little bit later. And then finally, the red switch is to uncouple a freight car or a locomotive from a consist. And now to address the elephant in the room. That, of course, leads us to the freight station here, as you can see. Now, for some of you that might be unfamiliar with this accessory, this is an original 257 battery-operated horn freight station, which was manufactured by Lionel through 1956 and 1957 only. So it was only made for about 2 years, and this is the exact same station that my dad had when he was growing up as a kid playing with Lionel trains. So I've been more than happy to find a spot for it here on the layout, just like I did with the old layout back home in Denellen. Now, one of the things that I wanted to accomplish when working on the station here was to fiddle around with the horn bracket. Now, I am using a reproduction horn for the 257 here, and I can say this without hesitation when I say these horns, especially when it comes to these reproduction horns, they are really challenging to work on. And sometimes they work, other times they don't. And most of the time, you don't really seem to get a whole lot of energy going through the horn itself when you activate it. So the one thing that I wanted to accomplish when working on the station here once again was to add a little bit of extra battery power to the mechanism. So what I did was I found an old battery pack that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and so I decided to connect it to the mechanism to see if this was plausible to work on. And thankfully I got some really good results. So I mounted the battery pack underneath the train table. So now it's not just running the station off of the D-cell battery. We now have an extra power source, so that way when we activate the accessory, we'll get a nice sounding horn that will not hesitate and will sound just great, just like the original diesel horns did. The next part of the layout that I wanted to work on was this section over here by the 445 switch tower. As you guys see, the 362 barrel loader is nowhere to be found, and that's because I got to do a little bit of maintenance work on it, but I will hook it back up to the layout eventually. And in the meantime, I just got this little wooden board placed on top of the wiring, and I kind of surrounded it with these little wooden cables and wooden barrels and blocks to make it look like a little small loading dock here on the layout. And now lastly, what I want to share with everybody here on this corner of the layout is this little orange building, which I handcrafted myself. Now, for some of you that have been keeping up with me on my social media page once again, this is something that I've been teasing for a while now, and this is going to be a model of a Stewart's restaurant, which my grandfather used to work for back in the day. Now, just like I did with the Blockbuster building on the layout, the same techniques I kind of applied to the Stewart's building, such as making the basic foundation of it out of foam board and then covering it with some little brick panels, which I spray painted orange, and I'm going to be adding some windows on the sides here and there, just like I did with the front. And in the front of this big window, there's going to be a big Stewart's logo in the center. And I'm also going to be adding some waitresses and some tables and some figures on the inside to give it a busy interior. And I'm also going to be adding the Woodland Scenics lighting kit to the inside of the building once everything is all done. Now, I still need to work on the roof, but with a little bit of time and a little bit of research, I should be able to construct one without having any issues. And even though that the Stewart's restaurant is going to look a little out of proportion when it comes to the size of the bank here, I just wanted to make sure that I filled in this gap here with a little something extra without going out to any of the hobby shops to buy another building. So from there, I can just make one myself. And I also want to make sure I construct a sidewalk that will match up equally with the sidewalk that's connected to the bank here. So I'm just testing everything out on this black canvas to make sure that I have it even with the sidewalk. Once again, that's connected to the bank here. So it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but with a little bit of time, I will be able to construct one without having any issues, and I will be happy to update you guys on this once everything is all done. Okay guys, well that about wraps it up for today's layout update. Once again, I really hope that you all have enjoyed watching, and if you did, be sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up, and make sure to let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. And don't forget, I got plenty more videos to come. So in the next 2 episodes that are currently in production, I will be doing a review on the MPC Blue Comet Lionel passenger cars, and I'll also be doing a review of an unusual train set that I've acquired from last year, which some of you might find very surprising. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. But until then, as always, my name is Mike. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell down below to get notified on any other projects that I upload here. So, with that being said, as always, thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see you all next time.